Reclaim the Net on X says California's AG just launched rulemaking for SB 976, which sounds really thrilling in law speak. Won't anyone think of the children law? Wait, what's it called? Quote unquote, Protecting Our Kids from Social Media Addiction Act, which I got to be honest, like when I hear this, I understand that there is an argument to be made to definitely protect kids from the addictions that online social media can create. I totally get it. But guess what? As a parent, I always step in between that and say, thanks, government, for letting me know about that. I'll take it from here. Unfortunately, the government's like, yeah, no, we're not going to let you take it from here. We're the government. We're a nanny state. We're going to tell you how your kids are going to be raised. You cannot parent your kids anymore. That's where I have the issue with this. It forces platforms to verify users' ages with age assurance systems. Read KID or something along those lines, which I've spoken about in depth on this channel before. There's somebody in, was it UK Parliament, former member, that is on the board of KID now. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure it's just so curious that these companies have former members of politicians and government entities that are on the board of trustees of them now. Weird. Couldn't be anything going on behind the scenes, of course. The stated goal is child safety. The real risk is the end of online anonymity, which is exactly what they want. And they're using the kids to get to that end result. And my fear, it's going to work. Age checks mean handing over ID or biometric data just to speak online, a gift to surveillance and data brokers alike. I mean, the way it's going, if you want like a sure thing investment, not financial advice, by the way, look into these online ID companies, see if any of them are publicly traded, and who knows what could possibly happen. But I got a feeling there's some politicians that are already heavily invested in them. And this is quote tweeting Reclaim the Net themselves, who says California opens public comment on online age verification ID. Before we get into the article, we got to share Savvy's thoughts because she's a legend. We are fighting left and right. They are punishing people because we can't be controlled anymore in the age of information. The easiest way to combat social media addiction is by encouraging parents to keep their kids offline and making neighborhoods safer so outdoor activities can be the norm. Our society should be putting education at the forefront, but instead, we toil over senseless issues. I could not agree more. Imagine communities actually serving purpose instead of everyone isolating. Because of advertisers, platforms try to rate their apps low to farm kids' engagement hours and data to groom the next wave of consumers. Yep. On top of what I routinely suggest, all of this goes away if every app is labeled 18 plus that has shopping and communication. There is zero reason Amazon needs to be rated 4 plus. It sells dildos. I mean, funny punchline at the end of that. I would push back a little bit and say, yeah, my kids aren't buying shit on Amazon. They don't have a credit card. They don't have a, well, actually, I shouldn't say they don't have a credit card. They do have a credit card, but it's one of those pre-deposit credit cards that you have to have money into it first for it to work. And they're not like shopping on Amazon because when they want something, they come to us and they say, hey, well, I want this. I want to purchase this. I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, what have you done? What chores have you done? What are you trying to get there? And oh, would you look at that? It's parenting. How I was raised, how I would argue traditional families are raised, but it's not how people these days in politics apparently want to be raised. And shout out to God who tagged me and Jay Viper. He says, this shit be crazy. Faith I Trust says, we're banning social media for children now. Lawmakers prepared digital ID for everyone. They don't care about kids. They care about controlling the populace. It was never about the children. To the citizens of California, hey, that's me. Your AG hates you and wants to strip away your freedoms for their own personal profit. Kids is a word being exploited to remove your freedoms. And when they start mailing out the pamphlets and they start putting pictures of kids and they put kids in big letters and they say, warning, big deal, problem, government here to fix. Please, it's vitally important for you to vote yes on this. Do this. It's so important. People just blindly, this is California for you. They blindly move forward with this shit. This is Reclaim the Net. They say California opens public comment on online age verification ID. A plan to shield kids from social media addiction could end up forcing every Californian to trade privacy for permission to speak online. They say could, I say will. California Attorney General Rob Bonta has launched the preliminary phase of rulemaking. Oh, by the way, when you start doing this shit, I would say it's almost mandatory that a deep detective personal investigation on all this guy's connections behind the scenes is mandatory. It's required. They have to find out if what this guy's pushing forward could benefit him personally in any way before he's allowed to move forward with this stuff. They never do that, but they really should, because more often than not in politics, it's always for a personal agenda. And the biggest problem with this kind of stuff moving forward is if it ever does get enacted, it can never roll back. It's so much easier to put these guardrails into place than remove them. Senate Bill 976, the quote unquote Protecting Our Kids from Social Media Addiction Act, which sounds so great to save the kids. The legislation mandates that social media companies use age assurance, in quotes, systems to determine whether a California user is an adult or minor. Why is all this happening at the same time, by the way? I know I've said this like a million times already. It feels like this month, but why? The internet's been around for decades. Why now? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like there was a directive from the World Economic Forum almost. Very strange. Oh yeah, California was the other area that was part of the Obama, Brazil, UK, and Australia with the secret meetings. California was a part of that. Why is California getting involved with this shit? The Attorney General has until January 1st, 2027 to complete and adopt the final regulations. The California Department of Justice will host a public meeting November 5th, 2025, to gather feedback from residents, experts, and organizations about how these rules should be structured. Now, I know this is extremely important, and this is going to sound like an excuse, but I want to bring something very serious and kind of like telling about the world that we're living in right now, about why this is such a problem. My wife works full time. I am busy as fuck. I do YouTube all the time, bringing my kids to and from school, making them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, being a full-time dad. It is impossible for either one of us to find time out of our insanely busy lives to go attend one of these meetings and say, hey, I have an issue with that. It's literally, it would be impossible. We can't do it. The macroeconomic problem of society is forcing you to work 24 hours a day. Your life, your schedule is filled out for you before you even wake up. You cannot even fight this shit. You can't. The only people that can are activists that don't do shit. And the Democrats are supporting them on their own lives where they don't have to do anything. It just perpetuates them pushing their own agenda forward every day. It's why we're spiraling. But anyways, the DOJ is seeking public comment on the potential effects of proposed regulations. Citizens can send their comments in written form. At least you don't have to attend. You can at least send a comment. I'll consider doing that. Note that any information provided is subject to the Public Records Act. The SB 976 was introduced to limit the impact of addictive online design features on minors. I bet it was. It requires the Attorney General to create standards for age assurance, read digital ID, and parental consent that allow. Read, isn't that what parents do right now? Why do we need the government to help us with this, bro? However, privacy advocates have raised alarms that the age assurance requirement could erode online anonymity. No, it will. forcing individuals to hand over sensitive identification data to access social platforms. It's already happening in the UK right now, alongside a slew of other places. Such systems could expose Californians to new risks of data collection, profiling, and potential misuse of personal information. The DOJ has requested public input on three main areas: methods and technical standards for age verification on social media and digital platforms used by minors, continuing obligations for platform operators tasked with performing age checks, procedures and protections surrounding parental consent for minors' participation online. The other problem I have with this, and I've said this before too, I don't want to wrap my kids in bubble wrap and avoid reality. I think it's important for them to understand technology and get comfortable and get used to using it, because I don't want to just push them out of the house when they turn 18 and say, hey, you've never touched a computer in your life. You don't understand social media, even though this is how the world's working and this is how people connect. Fucking figure it out now, bro. Like, no, I'd like you to get a head start on how the world works. I definitely don't want you to be addicted to this stuff, but I think it's important to get a grasp of how it works and understanding it. That is as a parent, my choice. Now we have the government coming in and saying, no, we don't want to give you that choice. We want to bubble wrap your kids for you and remove that choice from you. The law's age verification provision has already faced legal challenges. NetChoice, a trade association representing major technology firms, filed suit against Attorney General Bonta, asserting that SB 976 violates the First Amendment by requiring Californians to surrender personal documentation in order. They will keep trying to fight around the Constitution to get their way. The Constitution is the most amazing thing in the entire world. It is what saved America time and time again from turning into these other countries that are falling apart. Thank fucking God for the Constitution. And we have these evil politicians that are trying to ruin this thing that created America, that made it great. Fuck these people. On September 9th, 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals from the Ninth Circuit mostly upheld SB 976, but did not rule definitively on the age assurance section, noting that it could not yet determine its effect on free expression until the regulations were finalized. On September 23rd, NetChoice submitted a petition for rehearing en banc, seeking review by the full court rather than the original three-judge panel. Unless the Ninth Circuit agrees to rehear the case, the Attorney General may continue developing the rulemaking framework. However, if the court grants the rehearing, it could temporarily halt enforcement of age assurance provisions or even suspend the law altogether. Here's fucking hoping. I know it's California, so don't hold your breath. But at the same time, yikes, bro. Yikes. Full fucking investigation on this Attorney General, Rob Bonta, and his connections to digital ID, because I genuinely wonder about the behind the scenes. And if this guy is just a complete moron and he really thinks what he's doing is the right thing, or if there's something more insidious going on behind the scenes. But time will tell. And if this guy ends up getting arrested, we can look back at this video and be like, hey, Smash called it. There was something going on behind the scenes. He knew it. He knew it. It's pretty fucking obvious. This is the law, by the way. I have it up here. This is thrilling stuff. I'm sure you'll love that. So I said, does Attorney General Rob Bonta have any known connections to any digital ID companies or anything related to them? Take your time to think. So I knew that when you ask ChatGPT a question like this, it's really fucking broad. Short answer, can't find any public reporting, any financial or organizational ties. What does connect him to the topic, which he leads, is running a preliminary. Yeah, well, that's what we just talked about. His DOJ also administers California's data brokers registry and has been active on privacy enforcement. Related but tangential, California's mobile driver's license efforts are led by the DMV and governor's office. With recent Apple Google Wallet integrations, I found no indications Bonta personally no direct ties. Okay. Does he stand to gain any financial or other benefits for having SB 976 passed for him personally? There we go. Always wonder, because there's always something in it for politicians, why they do these things, especially when it's obviously against people. The law was signed into effect by Gavin Newsom. Shocker. We don't find potential indirect benefits, enhancement of career credibility, institutional power expansion, reputation and key constitutes, potential partnerships, contracts. While no tie is documented, when new regulatory regimes are created, e.g., age verification tech for social platforms, some party stands to supply those services. Although I found no record of Bonta or his close associates profit from this, the creation of that regulatory space could lead to government contracts under his agency or oversight linked budgets. Whether those would benefit him personally is unsubstantiated. Fundraising leverage, support popular youth safety measure that facilitates fundraisers from certain donors, unions, parent groups, advocacy who support the agenda, thereby indirectly improving campaign coffers or fundraising reach. There are clear strategic political benefits, enhanced reputation, institutional power, regulatory authority, which could indirectly benefit his career. If you're investigating potential conflict of interest, one might watch for vendor contracts awarded under SB 976, any donor relationships emerging after the laws passed, and personal financial disclosures showing ownership in relevant technology. The problem is these guys are getting really smart with how they're doing these things through other people, extended family, stuff like that. I don't trust these people as far as I can throw them, though. I do wonder.